Welcome to lesson number 1, Establishing Goals. One of the most critical components of an influencer marketing campaign begins on day 1, where you set goals for your campaign. There are many objectives an influencer campaign may have: sales, awareness, and content generation, to name a few. Setting these goals at the onset will impact your campaign style, timeline, influencer selection, and of course, your budget. When setting your goals, you should ask yourself a few questions. What are you trying to optimize for? What KPIs matter the most to you? How will you integrate influencer marketing into the rest of your marketing strategy? What does a successful campaign look like to you? How will you scale your influencers beyond the campaign in question? Are you trying to tell a story or just sell a product? Going over our goals of awareness, sales, and content generation, it becomes clear that the type of campaign you run varies based on each goal. If your goal is awareness, you're trying to keep your brand at the top of everyone's mind. As a result, you want to get as many followers and engagements as possible out of your campaigns. This is where giveaways and shoutouts come in handy. While they might not generate you immediate sales, in the long run, they build your funnel. If your goal is sales, you need to get as many people over to your website as possible, or make your products shoppable on social media platforms like Instagram. Think about running something like a series of testimonial videos highlighting your influencer's honest review of your products, encouraging customers to go to your website and make a purchase. If your goal is content generation, you're really trying to replace a professional photographer and model by generating more authentic, and not to mention cheaper, content through influencers or even your customers. A great way to do this would be a photo contest, where you get your influencers to get their followers to submit content using your products. Nothing is more authentic than user-generated content, or UGC. We'll dive into more detail on each of these strategies later on in the course. Your goal will certainly dictate your timeline. Some campaigns are much quicker than others. The general steps for any campaign follow a familiar structure. Step 1. Establish campaign goals. Step 2. Establish target audience. Step 3. Find and reach out to influencers. Step 4. Negotiate rates. Step 5. Send influencers product. Step 6. Review influencer content. Step 7. Have the influencers post. Step 8. Analyze campaign results. Step 9. Scale winning influencers. Some of these steps might not even be necessary depending on what campaign goal you choose. Some might be more labor-intensive too. For example, if content is your key goal, that step in the timeline will require more input. If your goal is sales, then selecting your influencer and their audience will be critical, since you'll likely be more heavily invested from a cash perspective. Figure on a standard timeline lasting anywhere from 1 to 3 weeks depending on your goals and how experienced you are. Influencer selection is the most important part of any campaign. We'll cover this part in depth later on in the course. But for now, what you need to know is the goals you set directly affects the type of influencer you use. Smaller accounts like micro and nano influencers are great for sales. They typically are seen as experts in one particular field, or they have a direct relationship with their followers. As a result, the level of trust they have is unmatched, which ultimately means they're perfect for convincing potential customers to make a purchase. Large influencers, like macro and mega influencers, are perfect for awareness. They might not be able to convince their followers to make purchases easily since they're famous for too many reasons, but they can certainly convince them to follow brands or hop on a trend. The middle ground influencers are best for content, since they are neither here nor there when it comes to being the best at sales or awareness. But often they do provide the best bang for buck when it comes to generating high-quality content while providing you with benefits on either end of the spectrum. The last major factor to be impacted by your goals is your budget. For example, If you are going for sales, you have the option to pay your influencers in the form of cash, product, or commission through affiliate marketing, a subject we will cover more in depth later in the course. If you're going for content generation, you'll likely only be able to pay in the form of product and cash. Since you aren't relying on influencers on make sales, they're highly unlikely to take a commission deal. Ultimately, these payment methods dictate your initial investment. We've seen a huge range of budgets across our clients, and we'll explain in detail how to set your budget in a future video. Finally, budgeting for next steps comes into play here too. For example, say you're optimizing for content and you have a handful of influencers who produce stunning imagery for you. You could, with permission, then turn around and start running ads using those creatives. If your goal is simply awareness, it wouldn't do you too much good to scale those posts as ads given how Facebook advertising costs have gone through the roof recently for that objective. Overall, setting goals is crucial to your campaign since it affects your style, influencer selection, timeline, and budget. You can optimize for sales, awareness, and content, and should shape your campaign around those unique purposes. Taking the time to figure out what you're optimizing for in advance will save you a ton of time, money, and headache going forward.